Hey everyone, welcome back. This video is going to be a little longer than some of them. We're going to really try and dig into customizing the Taranis, specifically setting up a timer with custom sounds, setting up a custom startup sound, how to set up sounds in general and get them onto your Taranis, what software you're going to need in order to do that, setting up a pre-arm switch with custom sounds, an arm switch that only arms when the pre-arm switch is activated, and a momentary switch for the timer that when flicked will tell you how much time is left, but when you hold it down for 2 seconds it'll reset it. In addition to being able to reset the timer by holding the momentary switch for 2 seconds, when you disarm the quad it also resets the timer. We're going to cover a lot, but I'm going to try and go slow, and I'm going to try and break it into sections for you, so go ahead and pause if you need to, go back and keep redoing a step. Hopefully you'll be able to follow along, and when you're finished, this is what you're going to have.
Switch warning.
Alright guys, so there's the custom startup sound. Let me show you how the timer works. So as you can see here on the screen, the timer currently has a value of 3 minutes remaining. So if we flip the momentary switch right now,
3 minutes.
It tells you that you have 3 minutes remaining. Now I could reset it, but that's not going to show you that it actually resets. Let's talk about what switches do what. For my arming switch, I have SB, which is this red one, set to my arming. So in its current position, or down, or towards me, it is in a disarmed state. When it's furthest away, it is armed. I have SF, which is this 2-position switch in the back here, set to my pre-arm switch. And again, when it is towards me, pre-arm is disabled. When it is away from me or up, then the pre-arming is active. So what you'll see here is if I arm the quad and move the throttle, the timer does not begin. So let's disarm, and you'll see the custom disarming sound.
Throttle disabled.
There. Okay, so let's take a look at the timer in action. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to pre-arm the quad, and we do have a custom sound set to the pre-arming switch. So if I pre-arm the quad,
warning, arming sequence initiated.
And that will repeat every 5 seconds to let you
Warning,
know
arming sequence initiated.
that it is in fact ready to arm, and if you were to arm this,
warning, arming
you could end
sequence
up getting yourself
initiated.
hurt. You can change the amount of times that it repeats, or if it repeats at all. We'll get to that later. So let me go ahead and show you now. So arm
Warning,
this,
arming sequence initiated.
and we'll go ahead and flip this to armed.
Warning, arming sequence initiated.
And here we go.
Okay, so what you heard there was 2 warning arming sequence initiated, and that's because this is a 3-position switch, and I have it set to when the pre-arm is active and this switch is in any position other than armed, it will continue to repeat that the pre-arm switch is in fact initiated or active, letting you know to be careful not to bump this. When this is down, this won't arm. The quad will not arm. So when the pre-arming is deactivated or disabled, it doesn't matter.
Disabled.
You can do this all you want and nothing's going to happen. The quad won't arm.
And here we go.
And so that is going to be my arming sound, or ready to go. Now then, now that we have it pre-armed and armed, let's go ahead and show you the timer. As soon as I move this up above 15%, the timer starts going. It will call out on the minutes. So when it reaches 2 minutes, it'll say 2 minutes, 1 minute, 1 minute. When it hits 30 seconds, it'll say 30. It'll call it again at 20. And then when it gets to 10, it'll do a second countdown all the way to 0. When it hits 0, it'll say that timer 1 has elapsed, and then it'll play a custom track that I have in there. Also, if we flick the momentary switch,
2 minutes and 26 seconds.
but if we hold the momentary switch,
2 minutes and 15 seconds.
we just reset the timer. I'm going to go ahead and speed this up for you guys really quick. I'll stop it at the minute tones so that you can hear what I'm talking about, and then I will stop it at about 10 seconds so that you can hear what I've got set up when the timer expires.
1 minute 30 seconds. 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Timer 1 elapsed.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Okay, so as you guys can see, I've got Bill Paxton from Aliens with his famous Game Over Man. It's a shame what happened to him. So let's show you guys what happens when we disarm the quad. Throttle down.
Throttle disabled.
Okay, so you see that the timer reset when we disarmed the quad, and as long as the pre-arm is enabled, we're going to get that repetitive warning arming sequence initiated. Again, that's set up intentionally as a safety measure. It's not required to have the pre-arm switch, but it definitely adds a layer of safety. So that was a lot. Let's just quickly summarize what we just did. So we have a custom startup sound. We have a timer with audible alerts that can be triggered with the momentary switch throughout the duration of the timer to read how much time is left. You can reset the timer by holding the momentary switch for 2 seconds or more. We have a pre-arming switch with a custom sound when it's activated. We have the arming switch with a custom sound when it's armed and disarmed. In addition to that, the arming switch will not actually activate or arm unless the pre-arming switch is active. Again, a lot to cover, but we're going to go through step by step to set yours up just like this. Let's get started. First thing we're going to need to do is make sure that you've got some custom sounds and then put those sounds onto your Taranis. So let's go over to the computer. Okay, the first thing you're going to want to do, just to keep it easy if you don't already have one, is create a folder somewhere. I've created mine on the desktop and I've named it Taranis Sounds. This is where I'm going to put the sound files that we're going to be using. So if you don't already have it, we're going to need to download Audacity. You can get that from audacityteam.org. You can see right up here in the browser bar. That's audacityteam.org. It's a free download, so you would just go ahead and click here on Download Audacity. It's available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. For this, we're going to choose Audacity for Windows. And then we're going to choose the first one where it says the Audacity 2.2.2 installer, 19.31 megabytes. This installer version might be different depending on when you're watching this video. And we're going to go ahead and run the installer. Choose your language. Next, next, next. I've already got it set up on mine, but we'll go ahead and just choose yes. You can choose whether or not you want to create a desktop shortcut. I'm going to not do it, and we're going to say install. Next, and we're going to launch Audacity. So this is what Audacity looks like when it's open. We're going to go ahead and minimize this for a second. Now the next thing you're going to need to do is, okay, so now we need to get custom sounds, put them into Audacity so that we can convert them to a format that is going to be playable by the Taranis. There's all kinds of different ways that you can get the custom sounds. It can be an MP3, it can be something from an online soundboard, from a movie, from whatever. One good place to go is soundboards.com. Or you can create your own custom one, and you can look at any of the online text-to-speech engines. If you just search text-to-speech, then you'll find many. However, the one that we're going to be using, and the one that I prefer right now, uses the IBM Watson AI, and it's pretty good. So it's going to be text-to-speech-demo.ng.bluemix.net. That's a mouthful. I'll put it in the description. You can choose the voice that's going to read it back to you, and then we will go ahead and put in the text that you want. And I'm going to put in warning, arming sequence initiated. Let's hear what it sounds like.
Warning, arming sequence initiated.
Good, it's perfect. So we'll go ahead and click on download. And now we're going to get the transcript.exe MP3 file. That's going to go down into your downloads folder unless you've specified a different default folder for your downloads to go into. You're going to want to move that transcript.mp3 file from the downloads folder over into the folder that we created. All right, so now that that is copied into the sounds folder, let's go ahead and open up Audacity again. And the easiest way to do this is just going to be to drag it into the window. Select the down arrow. Make sure that waveform is selected. Come down here to format. I'm going to leave this on 32-bit float, and the rate, we'll leave it right where it sits. The project rate hertz, let's move that to 48.
Warning, arming sequence initiated.
Nice. It's already set to mono, so we should be good. Now I'm going to come up here and I'm going to choose File, Export as Wave. We are going to dump it into the Taranis sounds. One thing you'll need to keep in mind is your names need to be 8 characters or less in order for the Taranis to be able to interpret them. We're going to choose Wave, Microsoft signed 16-bit PCM, and we will hit Save. On the next window that pops up, you can just click OK, and that's that. You can close this now. You can choose to save it or not, it doesn't really matter. If you'd like to go back and edit it again later, perhaps you should. So now we need to get this arming sequence initiated file over onto the Taranis. So there's a couple different ways we can do this. One way would be to remove your SD card and put it into your computer or into your card reader. Okay, the other method is to connect a USB cable to the Taranis and go about it that way. That's the method that I'm going to use. So we're going to press both the trims in, and then we're going to turn the Taranis on. So now we'll take our mini USB cable, plug it into the computer, come around the back of the Taranis, and we will plug it in right there. Again, this is mini USB. And now you can see on the front that it indicates that USB is connected. With that done, we can go ahead and go back over to the computer. I'll choose Removable Disk E. And then we're going to want to go into the Sounds folder. From the Sounds folder, we're going to go into EN for English. If you're doing this in another language, then you want to go into whatever language folder that you're going to be doing it for. You may also have other languages listed here. I've deleted mine because I didn't need them and I don't want them taking up additional space. So we'll go into the EN folder, and from within here, this is where all the sounds that are on your Taranis are going to be. So now what we need to do is copy the file that we just created in Audacity over into this sounds folder. You can just drag and drop. Also, at this point, if you want to set the custom startup sound, you're going to want to go all the way down to the bottom into the system folder. And from within here, these are the system sounds. You're going to notice one called Hello. That is the startup sound. So if you have a sound that you want to put in place of the normal Taranis startup sound, for instance, you heard mine, it's set to the Terminator song right now, you would just create that file in Audacity like we just did, name it Hello, and then put it in here. Now, one thing I would recommend that you do before copying a new hello in here is take the current one and just name it .old. So hello.old. It's still a WAV file, but what this is doing is this is creating a backup of that file. So if you ever wanted to go back to it, you could just delete the one that you put in here, remove the .old, and it would be back to its defaults. So that's how you get the custom startup sound. So with that done, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the Taranis, and then I'm going to disconnect the USB cable from the back, power the Taranis back up, because we're going to start setting this all up. Now we're really going to dig into this. So just to recap what we've done so far, you've downloaded Audacity from audacityteam.org. If you didn't already have it, you've gotten a hold of your custom sound file, whether that was a song, or whether that was something that you had downloaded from a soundboard online, or whether that was a custom sound that you created from a text-to-speech engine that you found online. Regardless of how you've got it, you've put it through Audacity, and you now have the WAV files copied over into the Sounds folder on the Taranis. With all that done, we're ready to begin setting up the special functions, logical switches, and the timer itself. So first thing I'm going to do is choose a model that doesn't already have this all set up on it. So from the main home screen of the orange Strix, this is what we're going to do. We're first going to set up the logical switches. I'm going to try and explain what each one of these do as we set them up. So to get here, let's press Menu. Now we're going to long press once, twice, 3, 4 times. That should take you to the logical switches section. And now we're going to start setting this up. First thing you're going to do is you're going to hit Enter, and now you're going to hit Enter again. From here we're going to hit plus until we get to A is greater than X. We're going to hit Enter, and now we're going to hit minus, and now we're going to hit Enter, and we're going to just flick the momentary switch. Notice that that puts that there. We're going to hit Enter, we're going to hit minus, we're going to hit Enter, and now we're going to take this up to 50. Enter, and now we are going to hit minus, minus, minus. We're going to hit Enter, and now you're going to take this up to 2.0. Now what this is doing is this is telling you how long you have to hold the momentary switch in order to perform an action. This action is going to be, as you know, resetting the timer. So if you don't want to hold it for 2 seconds, you can change that to whatever value you want. Okay, now we're going to hit Exit, and we're going to go down to Logical Switch 2. We're going to hit Enter, we're going to hit Enter again, and this time we're going to choose A equals X. Hit Enter, hit minus, hit Enter, and this time we're going to choose Timer 1. It's going to be in there as TMR1. Timer 1. And we're going to leave the rest alone. We're going to hit Exit, and we're going to hit minus. We're going to hit Enter. We're going to hit plus until we get to A is greater than X. We're going to hit Enter. We're going to hit minus, and now we're going to hit Enter again. This time we are going to choose this switch, but we're going to put it down. So it's going to be SB is down. And we're going to hit Enter. And now we will hit Exit. We'll hit minus. We'll go down to Logical Switch 4. We're going to hit Enter. We're going to hit Enter again. And we're going to hit plus 3 times to get A is greater than X. Enter, minus. And now we're going to hit Enter. We're going to put the SF switch towards us. Enter. Exit. Logical Switch 5. This time we're going to hit Enter, and we're going to go up until we get to AND. There it is. Hit Enter, minus, hit Enter, and this, if we long press Enter, we're going to choose a logical switch. We'll go in here and we're going to choose Logical Switch 3. And we'll hit minus, and we'll go over, and we're going to hit Enter. And now we're going to hit SF is up. Hit Enter, down. Hit Enter on Logical Switch 6. Hit Enter again, and we're going to do another AND. Enter, minus. This is going to be another logical switch, so long press Enter, come down to Logical Switches, hit Enter, and this one is going to be set to Logical Switch 8. Enter, Enter, and this is also going to be SF up. Okay. Exit, down to logical switch 7, enter, enter again. We're going to go to AND, enter, minus, enter, and this is going to be SF up, and we're going to hit minus and hit enter, and this is going to be SB up. Hit enter, hit minus, hit exit, go down to logical switch 8, hit enter again. This time we're going to be A equals X, hit enter, hit minus, hit enter, and this one we're going to want to put it to where SB is in the middle, right there. Hit enter. Now hit exit. Go down to logical switch 9. Hit enter again. Okay, we're going to go to A is greater than X, hit enter, hit minus, and we're going to hit enter. We're going to go right there. We're going to choose throttle and hit enter, hit minus, come over here, and we're going to take this to negative 85. Enter. And we're going to go over to the next one, and we're going to long press logical switches, enter, and we're going to choose logical switch 7, and we're going to hit enter. And now we can hit exit, and we can hit page to go to the special functions. Before we do that though, let's just really quickly go over what it was that we just set up. So let's jump back up to the top. So we have logical switch 1, which is A is greater than X, and it's the momentary switch SH. And what we're doing is we're saying that when SH has a value of at least 50 for more than 2 seconds, logical switch 1 will be true. We can prove that by holding the momentary switch for at least 2 seconds, and what you'll see is logical switch 1 will turn bold. There we go. So that proves that it's true, and as soon as we release it, it goes back to not being true. For logical switch 2, we've said that A equals X, and what that means is that when timer 1 equals 0, logical switch 2 is true, and that's how it is right now. For logical switch 3, we've again said that A is greater than X, and that is when the arming switch, or SB, is in its disarmed position, or with a value of 0, that logical switch 3 is true. Logical switch 4, A is greater than X, and that is when SF, or the pre-arm switch, is at 0. It is true. Right now, it's in its activated state, so if I switch it to its pre-arming being deactivated, you'll see that logical switch 4 becomes true. Now, logical switch 5 is actually calling on another logical switch and the pre-arm switch. So in order for logical switch 5 to be true, logical switch 3 must be true, and the pre-arming switch must be activated. So we can show you that right now. This is true, and this is activated. And now logical switch 5 is true. So go ahead and do that. Logical switch 6 is another and it's saying that logical switch 8 is true, and the pre-arming switch is active. So let's just jump down really quick to logical switch 8. Logical switch 8 is saying A equals X, and that's when the arming switch is in its center. So notice that as soon as I moved it to the center, it's active. So as soon as I moved it to the center, logical switch 8 became true. So if I go and I activate the pre-arming switch, you'll notice that logical switch 6 is now true because logical switch 8 is true and the pre-arming switch is in its up or active position. Okay, let's go ahead and get those out of here. Now, logical switch 7 is stating that SF, or the pre-arm switch, must be active and the arming switch must be active. So pre-arm is now active, and if I move this one to its armed state, you'll notice that logical switch 7 is now true. Move those down. Now you'll see, because the pre-arm is in its disarmed state, logical switch 7 is no longer true, even though it's armed. So we go ahead and disarm this, and that's fine. Now we'll go down one more to logical switch 9, which is another A is greater than X. And now what this is doing is, this is how we're going to trigger the timer. So when logical switch 9 is true, then we will start the timer. Now the way that logical switch 9 is determining all this is as such. So it's wanting the throttle to be above 15% and for logical switch 7 to be true. So let's go ahead and show you this. Let's activate the pre-arm, activate the arm, and now we have logical switch 7 is true, which is one of the dependencies. And if we move the throttle over 15%, notice that logical switch 9 just became true. If I move this down, it deactivates. I know that's a lot to cover, but it's all going to make sense. Do this a few times and you'll get it. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the special functions to actually make these logical switches do something. Because as it stands right now, they're not actually doing anything. In order to get to the special functions, we're just going to hit page once. Alright, so for special function 1, what we're going to do is we are going to assign this to the momentary switch, and what we're going to want it to do is when we flick the momentary switch, we're going to want it to tell us how much time is left on the timer. So we're going to hit enter. We're going to hit enter again. We're going to flick the momentary switch. Okay. We're going to hit enter. We're going to hit the minus button. We're going to come over here and hit enter, and we're going to go up to where it says play value. Hit enter, hit minus, and we're going to hit enter again, and we're going to choose timer 1 or TMR1. So just go ahead and cycle through here until you get to TMR1. There we go. Hit enter, and we notice to the right that it says 1x. That means that it's going to play that value one time. That's what we want. So hit exit, hit minus, down to special function 2. So what special function 2 is going to do is when the quad is disarmed, it's going to alert you audibly by playing a track that in fact the quad is disarmed. All right, hit enter again. For this, we're going to just flip this to the down position. So I toggled it up and then down because this is the position we want it in. Hit enter, minus, enter. This is going to be play track. There we go. Enter, minus, enter. And for this, I'm going to choose throttle disabled or THRDIS. I'm just going to hit plus till we get there, and there it is. Nice. And that's going to be set to one time as well. So I'll hit exit now. And notice that it's there, but if I toggle it off and then back down.
Throttle disabled.
So now anytime you disable the throttle, it will play throttle disabled. Okay, let's hit minus. Let's go down to special function 3, hit enter. We're going to long press enter. We're going to get logical switches. And we're going to want logical switch 1, hit enter. Hit minus, hit enter again, and we're going to choose reset and timer 1, and now we're going to hit minus, and we're going to hit enter to check the box. Hit exit. Go down to special function 4, enter, long press again, logical switches. This is going to be this is going to be logical switch 2, hit enter, hit minus, hit enter, go to play track, hit enter, minus, hit enter. This is going to be what happens when the timer expires. For me, it is going to be Hudson or Bill Paxton saying game over, man. There we go. One time. Exit, minus, special function 5. Now, what we want special function 5 to be is resetting the timer when we disarm the quad. So hit enter, long press, logical switches. This is going to be logical switch 3, enter, minus, enter. Want to guess what it's going to be? reset, enter, minus, timer 1, minus again, check the box to activate it, and now let's hit exit, special function 6, enter, long press, logical switches. This is going to be logical switch 4, and we're going to hit enter and then minus. We're going to do override, so hit minus one more time, hit enter, and this is going to be, we're going to override your arming switch, which in this case is channel 5 for me, enter, minus, and now we're going to take this to minus 150. Now, depending on which direction is arm for you, this may not be a negative 150. This may be a positive 150. So in some people's case, if towards you is armed, then this would be a positive 150. Make sense? So for me, when I put this away, now it's armed. Okay?
Throttle disabled.
All right, and now we're going to go over here and we're going to activate this. Exit, special function 7, enter, long press, logical switches. This is going to be logical switch 5, and this is going to be one of the 2 arming sequences. Enter. We're going to do play track. Enter. Enter. And this is going to be arming sequence. This is the custom sound that I made. Enter. And for this, I'm going to choose to set it up to play every 5 seconds. Now, you might not want to do that. Maybe you only want it to play once. In that case, you would just choose 1x or 1 time. But if you want it to alert you that the pre-arm is active, then you'll want to go ahead and continue to allow it to play every number of seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, exit, and we're going to go down to special function 8. Enter, and long press, logical switches, enter. We're going to go to logical switch 6, enter, minus, play track, enter, minus, enter, and this is also going to be arming sequence for 5 seconds. Now the reason for 2 arming sequences is because this is a 3-position switch, and I want this to alert me whenever it's in its full disarmed or the center position.
Throttle disabled.
So there we go. Hit minus, and we'll hit enter, and we'll take this up to 5 seconds as well. Enter, exit, down to special function 9. Enter, long press, logical switches, enter. Want to take a guess on which one this is? Logical switch 7. Enter, play track, enter, minus. Okay, and we're going to hit enter. This is going to be your arming sound. In my case, I'm using the Joker, which was Heath Ledger for this particular one, saying, and here we go. I'm a pretty big Batman fan. I love the Dark Knight trilogy. In my opinion, Heath Ledger was an amazing Joker. He really did that very, very well. I think second to him would probably be Jack Nicholson, as far as my second favorite Joker. Let me know which one's your guys' favorite Joker. Hit enter, and that's going to be 1 time. Hit exit. All right, so that's all of the special functions. So just like we did with the logical switches, let's quickly review what we just set up. So let's jump back up to the top, special function 1. So when the momentary switch is flicked once, it's going to read out the value of the timer. We haven't yet set up the timer, so when we flick this, it says 0 because there isn't a timer. Special function 2 is the arming switch in its disabled state, and it's going to do throttle disabled 1 time.
Throttle disabled.
Perfect. Special function 3 is logical switch 1, which is, if you recall, when we hold the momentary switch forward, it's going to reset timer 1. Special function 4 is logical switch 2, which is going to play the track game over. Now logical switch 2 is when the timer hits 0. Special function 5 is logical switch 3, which is the arming switch in the disarmed position, which is also going to reset the timer. Special function 6 is logical switch 4, which is going to override the arming switch, giving you a value of -150. So essentially, when your pre-arming switch is not active, you can't
Throttle disabled.
activate
Throttle disabled.
the arming. Special function 7 is going to be the 2 arming sequences that we set up that are going to alert you when pre-arm is active. Special function 8 is the other arming sequence, and special function 9 is the joker. So if I put this forward,
Warning, arming sequence
and then
initiated.
arm,
Warning, arming sequence initiated.
And here we go.
nice. So let's go ahead and deactivate that,
Throttle disabled.
deactivate that. The only thing left to do now, guys, is actually set up the timer. So let's go ahead and exit again, menu, and let's hit page once, and we're going to go right down here to timer 1. We'll hit enter. Okay, we're going to hit enter again, and we're going to go and we're going to choose logical switch 9. There we go. Enter, minus. Now this is where you're going to choose the length of time for your timer. For this particular one, I think I'll go with 4 minutes. Exit. Down. You can name your timer if you want. I don't think there's a real reason to do that. Persistent, I'm going to leave it to off, and for the minute call, I'm going to check that. That's what's going to read out the time when it hits each minute mark, as well as when it hits 30 seconds, 20 seconds, and then read out from 10 to 0. For the countdown, we're going to have voice set for 10 seconds. All right, guys, that's it. We've set this up now. So now let's go ahead and hit exit, exit again, get back to the screen. So now you can see here that timer 1 has a value of 4 minutes. So if I hit the momentary switch,
4 minutes.
it reads it out to us. If I move the throttle up, nothing happens. If I move the arming switch up, nothing happens.
Throttle disabled.
Move it to the disarmed position, and it tells you that it's disabled. If I move the pre-arming switch to the active state,
Warning, arming sequence
and
initiated.
now I move this
Warning,
to
arming
armed,
sequence initiated.
And here we go.
notice the timer's still not moving. But if I move the throttle above 15%, the timer starts going. As it's going, we can flick the momentary switch.
3 minutes and 53 seconds.
We can hold the momentary switch to reset it.
3 minutes and 45 seconds.
There we go. And we can disarm the quad
Throttle disabled.
to reset it. And when it hits 0, this is what you get.
3, 2, 1. Timer 1 elapsed.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Okay guys, that's it. I hope you liked it. I hope you found it helpful. I will put a link in the description to the website where I'll do a full write-up on the tutorial and every step that we took to assign all of the logical switches and special functions to make all of this work. If you did like it, consider subscribing, give me a thumbs up, and let me know which one of the jokers you liked best. See you next time.